I think some of you are gonna hate this because for the last week straight, I have been EDCing the new Leatherman Wave Alpha. Start this way. Is it gonna go through a coat hanger? Boom, no problemas. And during that time, I've come to some really wild conclusions. You know, if the grind freaking sucks, well, who cares?
And we are definitely bumping the thumb stud.
And I'm really looking forward to sharing my findings with you as we take a look at just general performance, ergonomics, some wild cost analysis that I'm not really hearing anyone else talk about, and where I think it sits between the Leatherman Arc and the Leatherman Wave Plus. So it's gonna be a wild ride today, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome, thanks for joining. I'm Aaron, this is Gideonstactical. Let's dive in, have some fun. Now to my first conclusion that I think you guys are gonna hate to hear, but I'm gonna have to bring you to it kicking and screaming. And it has to do with the price. After doing a little research and thinking, I realized it's not unreasonable. Blah, 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 you're getting free tools, so you're saying it's good? False. Nope. I guarantee you Leatherman is not a fan of me lately with some of my content around their fixed blades and some of their other implements where I've kind of raked them over the coals. Nope, I went to Midway USA, bought this tool. So like you, when you're considering a $200 Wave variant, you're asking yourself, like I was, like what am I really getting for the price? First has to do with the Magnacut steel blade itself. I want us to think here for a moment about most Magnacut pocket knives at the end of 2025. Now there are some outliers that are cheap, air quotes, at like $150. I'm thinking of like the Kershaw Bel Air. I'm thinking of a few Hogue models that you can get for right around that cost, but most are gonna be at least $200 or more. Think of the new Buck Elite pocket knives, those are great, but those are like $220. Think of most Benchmays, they're like $250, $300. Think of a lot of Italian-made pocket knives that are using that. They're right around $200 or more. And those include a blade, a lock, a pocket clip. Trust me, we'll get to all that. And like handles. Well, guess what? We get a blade, handles, and so many other implements. The implements are crazy. And so when I started to weigh that, I'm like, I'm getting a lot for $200 on a Magnacut steel blade. Now we can argue whether or not Magnacut was the right choice. Could they have cut some cost by maybe doing 154 cm, something like that? Maybe, you know, I mean, that's definitely an argument to be made. But when we actually look at Magnacut pocket knives compared to a Magnacut Wave Alpha, that is not, I think, unreasonable for all the moving parts, all the materials, and all the stuff that goes into this. Leave a comment below. I want to know what you guys think when you actually start rolling that around in your mind. Now, the second thing that made me even more upset, because I was like, man, Leatherman, I really wanted to be irritated with you with this price point, is that as I started to go into the Wayback Machine, I remembered that we all were super pumped about the Leatherman Charge with G10 handles with an S30V blade. And I have one of those tools. I love it, it's a great tool. It's kind of been my go-to, and when they discontinued it, it was a very sad day. Well, I wanted to see what that cost me back in the day. Guess how much? 180 bucks. 180 bucks on average. Now, it did come with some extra accessories, that's something to consider, but then I said to myself, I'm gonna ask ChatGPT if I have a $200 product, MSRP, and I was to sell it not now, but in 2019, when those tools were available, how much would the Wave Alpha cost back then if we had launched it then? With inflation and tariffs, all the craziness going on in the world today. And here's what it had to say.
So if we look at the time frame from October 2019 to October 2025, and we assume about a 3% annual inflation rate, over those 6 years, the cumulative inflation would be roughly 19 to 20%. That means that a product priced at $200 in 2025 would have been around 170 to 180 in 2019. So that should give you a good ballpark estimate.
So with those two things in mind, I am super irritated, but guys, I mean, I'll take Magnacut over S30V, and I actually will take the implement, and this is where we start getting into the tool itself, change that they did over the Charge. The Charge had the scissors inside the body. Well, now they have given us and removed the serrated blade, and in its place on the exterior of the tool, given us a massive pair of quick access scissors. and I think I'm here for it. I mean, that to me, for a lot of people, I think is going to be a win. And we got to match the accents today. Orange zip tie, one squeeze, no big deal. NBD. Hiya. Jackpot, that was paracord. Other than that, all of the standard implements stay the same. You know, the things that we know, the saw. Oh, dude, look at that. I got a nachola. Doink. Nice. There it is. The file. And the bit drivers, the can opener, the mini screwdriver, and large flathead. And you can't forget about that all. So with so many similarities to the Wave and the Charge, what's really different is the blade design and steel, and then these G10 handles. Now, as you just saw there, the thumb stud absolutely deploys the blade more like a pocket knife. Look at that. With my Charge, it just doesn't give you the ability to do it. It was always a slow open, slow close. Not the end of the world, but I way prefer the action of the thumb stud that is removable, and that's important because we're going to get to an issue I have with the thumb stud in a moment. But action on the Alpha is superior. Now we're gonna look at the issue on this thumb stud in detail, and we'll get to that in just a second, but there's a watch that I think is gonna absolutely blow you away. This is the brand new VAER C4 tactical field watch, and it's the most rugged solar powered watch that VAER has ever constructed. And you guys know I've been wearing VAER watches for over a year now, using everything from their quartz and AmeriQuartz designs through the solar and even automatic variants, and they just keep on ticking. That's why they're such a great sponsor here, is because this American-based company assembling many of their watches, including this new C4 right here with their American workforce, and then using excellent quality parts like Japanese solar-powered movement, which with 6 hours of candlelight will power this watch for up to 6 months, which is just mind-blowing. And so what the C4 brings to the table is either a bead-blasted steel case, or you can get it DLC coated with a recessed 4 o'clock crown that is a lock-out, screw-down crown, adding to the reliability of water resistance down to 200 meters. And that paired with the brightest looms that VAER has ever produced, with 3D superluminova blocks on the face. And in the past year, I've tested VAER's scratch-resistant sapphire crystal face, dragging knife blades across it, and it just shrugs it off, whereas cheaper alternatives scratch and mar themselves into oblivion. There's lots of cool details like the NATO phonetic alphabet inscribed on the back of the watch. And these are just a few highlights of the C4 design. So guys, I'm gonna have a link popping up. It's in the description box below. I encourage you to click on it, check it out, let them know that we sent you. And if you've never ordered through VAER before, you're gonna get a prompt for 10% off your first purchase, which just helps you save a little extra cash. So I encourage you to check it out and stay on time for all of your adventures. So edge geometry is very good. They give us a good high grind. The reverse tanto or sheep's foot, whatever you want to call it, really works well, and I have zero complaints on that front. And then they chose Magnacut, which is definitely going to be superior to S30V, 154CM, and 420HC that they normally have had in the past. So that's a good thing, and I will absolutely prefer it. But if you're taking with you, when you're carrying the Alpha, a fixed blade, compact for EDC, or a dedicated pocket knife, we could argue, is it really necessary? But if it's a one-tool option for you, then yeah, it's nice to have that extra wear resistance and durability. Now, they do 60, 63 HRC. We've talked about this before with their fixed blade, and I've gone into deep detail. That's a pretty wide margin, and we've seen from other companies like Kershaw and Hogue that you can easily get 62 to 64 HRC, meaning the wear resistance is better, and you don't really lose any toughness. So it's not the best HRC I've seen, but it definitely will still outperform the other steels that Leatherman has used in the past. Now, there's one big issue with the placement of this thumb stud. It's so far forward, and I don't really know why. Because when we close up the tool, We have plenty of space. They could have easily brought it back where the words A Magnacut are and put the A Magnacut where the thumb stud is. I don't think it would have changed the geometry to be able to flick open like this. And even if it did, I'd be willing to take some sort of compromise or something, you know, just ease of deployment with thumb stud or with gloves on and stuff if I couldn't flick it quite as easily, because the problem comes in with resharpening. Now I clamped this onto my Worksharp Precision Sharpener, and based off of that, it told me that the grind, when you put a little Sharpie mark on there, and then you could use like a ceramic stone or like a leather strop, and when you get to the angle, you adjust the angle until the Sharpie marker starts getting removed, and that's an easy way to tell what your angle is for your grind. It's 20 degrees on each side, which is pretty standard for the industry and a lot of tools. So that's totally fine, but I am definitely banging up against the thumb stud at 20 degrees. That means I got to bring it up higher to a different geometry for that whole width right there, about the size of my finger. So I'm either going to have to continually, every time I have to resharpen this blade, take the thumb stud off to keep that consistent 20-degree angle, or I'm going to have to go up to the thumb stud and stop and just kind of leave that there and then do like a secondary angle, or just kind of eyeball it, and it's going to end up having a thicker edge back by the thumb stud and a thinner edge where the rest of the blade is. So I think it was a bad call, just straight up bad call. They should have come up with some other option. It's annoying, and it's going to make it difficult to resharpen the blade over time.
One thing of note is they have removed the rulers that you would get on the Wave Plus or like the Charge that is no longer on the Wave Alpha. Now, I don't really trust those type of rulers as far as I could throw a multi-tool. So, I mean, if that's a downer for you, it's not going to have it. I never once have used those rulers to actually mark something.
So now the G10 handles and how they affect ergonomics. And I'll say overall, I feel like it's a huge win before we have to get to the last frustration when it comes to accessories and carrying options. So we'll get to that in a second. But here's the deal. When it comes to the stepped G10 handles, it is far superior in ergonomics for the exterior tools, especially when you're doing push cuts and when you're using the saw or the file, because the shoulders are now contoured and not sharp, abrupt metal. So the Wave Plus, when I use the knives and you push down or you're using the saw, you're definitely going to feel all these transitions and these hard points. They're just not comfortable to endure for long periods of time. That is mitigated with these G10 handle scales, and that brings us into even the arc. Now, the arc is an overall heavier built tool, and it was one of the first ones that introduced, the thumb stud and Magnacut and all that. But I almost never use the arc because of the exterior abrasions, especially with the blade. This spot right here, especially on the uncoated version like this, I do have the Talus coated version. It's a little bit better because the Cerakote rounds the shoulder. But man, when I grip this tool and I do a push cut, all three fingers back here are just getting eaten alive by the metal, and it just feels like you're holding onto a piece of sheet metal. It's not a comfortable tool to use the exterior tools for long periods of time compared to the Alpha. And so I would say it's just a massive win ergonomically to use the tool, and then you're going to still get good, pressure points in a positive way when you're using the cutters. So, and then you get color combinations. Obviously, some people were asking questions about weight. When I weighed these two, this was about 8.4 ounces. This was about 8.6 ounces with the pocket clips. And that brings us right into the frustrations of carrying options. Here's the deal. This is how this was shipped to me. Nothing. No pocket clip, no pouch, nothing. It's just like zing. They're like selling you a car without a set of tires. No way for you to be able to carry this multi-tool. I have to spend more, and if I don't know that, it's going to arrive, and then I can't use my tool for a while or just like sling it in my pocket. I mean, sure, I got the little lanyard tassel. I guess I could throw it on a carabiner or something. But, I mean, for my entire life, you buy a Leatherman Wave and you get a nylon pouch, and some options, are out there with pocket clips and things like that. And so now that they have opted for most models to send 0 carrying options. Now, the Talus Arc did come with a pocket clip, nothing else. But when I bought the Arc a while back, I had a pocket clip, it had a really nice nylon sheath, and I believe it came with a bit kit. So now it does not do that to my knowledge. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's to the best of my knowledge. There's so many weirdness going on right now with it. I'm just trying to share with you my data. So, man, and then I got to spend $10 So what I did, I had to cannibalize my charge one until this one arrived. So I just ordered that one. And then you're looking at about 20 bucks for a nylon sheath, and I have to choose, and nothing comes with. You know, I get that maybe you don't want to send the nylon sheath anymore. It's expensive to make. There's a lot more goes into it than just a fold over piece of metal that's like what? I'll be generous and say it costs $1 to make. You know, stop sending it with the sheaths, send them with pocket clips. Like that would be fine to me. And then spend, you know, yeah, then if you want a sheath, you got to spend 20 bucks. Okay. Not cool, but I get it. You know, all right, whatever. But to send nothing is just so frustrating and nickel and diming us to death, it feels like. So that's me and my mileage when it comes to the pocket clips and the sheaths. Let me know what you guys think about that. To button this all up, guys, here's the deal. You know, I mean, if you already love and have the Wave Plus, I don't really see the need to upgrade unless you're just wanting to kind of like get something new. It really is going to come down to, I think it is a good replacement to my charge. I have zero problem with that. I will be carrying this way more often than my discontinued G10 charge now because I'm getting a better blade steel, better action, and access to scissors on the exterior, which I'm going to be using way more. It really comes down to what makes more sense here. The arc at 250 or at 200, let's say 210, you know, with this, within $50, which one makes sense? Well, I'm going to tell you what I would do. For the way that I live and what I need out of my tools, I would go with the Alpha. If I was having to decide between the arc and the Alpha, I would go with the Alpha. It's a lighter, it's more ergonomic, and it works for me in a way and in the type of applications I look for. Does that mean the arc is bad? No, the arc is actually a more robust tool with better full-size pliers. The pliers are more heavy duty. The action to gain access to the tools is easier. So there are lots of benefits for like a full-blown tradesman to go with this. You're gonna get the pocket clip out the gate. I would say if you have an option, I would actually go with the Talus, you know, Cerakoted version because it deadens the sharpness a little bit on the corners. So that's me and my mileage, guys. I want to know from you, especially between the Arc and the Alpha. Which one do you think you would gravitate to more? And do you think it's just silly to be spending $200+ on a multi-tool? Or is it like the tool that you must have in your trade, in your profession, or just in your hobbies? And you're like, dude, they're like one and done. So, till next time, always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared. See you out there.